Most people think that aging is a slow, inevitable march dictated solely by the date on their birth certificate. They wake up one day, notice a new wrinkle or a gray hair, and assume it as just time doing its job. But what if I told you that your chronological age and your biological age are two completely different numbers? Science is now revealing that some people are aging up to 3 times faster than others. And the terrifying part is that it's often happening silently, deep within your cells, before you even see it in the mirror. You might feel fine today, but your body could be screaming for help through subtle signals that you've been taught to ignore. In this deep dive, we are going to uncover the 10 critical signs that your body is aging at an accelerated rate. We aren't just talking about fine lines, we are talking about internal markers, metabolic shifts, and neurological red flags that dictate how long you will live and, more importantly, how well you will live. If you've noticed you're more tired than you used to be, or if your memory isn't as sharp, don't just dismiss it as getting older. It might be a sign of cellular decay that can still be reversed if you act now. The first sign we need to discuss is one of the most overlooked yet significant markers of premature aging: the loss of grip strength. You might wonder what your ability to open a jar has to do with your longevity, but clinical studies have shown that grip strength is one of the most reliable predictors of overall biological age and mortality. When your grip strength declines faster than it should, it's a direct reflection of sarcopenia, which is the age-related loss of muscle mass and quality. But it goes deeper than just muscle. It's about your neuromuscular connection and the integrity of your protein synthesis. If you find yourself struggling with basic manual tasks that were easy just a couple of years ago, your body is sending a distress signal that your musculoskeletal system is deteriorating at a rate that outpaces your years. This isn't just about fitness. It's about the very foundation of your physical independence. As we age, our cells, mitochondria, the powerhouses that provide energy, begin to flicker out. When these powerhouses fail in your muscle tissues, your strength vanishes. And this is often the first domino to fall in a long chain of systemic aging. Moving to the second sign, we have to look at your skin's resilience. Specifically, how long it takes for a mark or a small wound to heal. Have you noticed that a simple scratch or a bruise stays on your skin for weeks instead of days? This is a massive red flag. Your skin is the largest organ in your body, and its ability to repair itself is a direct window into your body's inflammatory levels and regenerative capacity. When you are aging too fast, your body's supply of collagen and elastin drops off a cliff. But more importantly, your microcirculation begins to fail. This means that oxygen and vital nutrients aren't reaching the surface of your skin efficiently. If your skin looks dull, paper-thin, or if you are developing age spots in your 30s or 40s, your body is struggling with oxidative stress. This is a state where free radicals are essentially rusting your cells from the inside out. It's like leaving a piece of metal out in the rain. Without the right antioxidants and repair mechanisms, it begins to corrode. If your skin isn't snapping back, it's because your cellular repair manual is becoming corrupted. And this same lack of repair is happening to your internal organs as well. The third sign is chronic cognitive fog and the loss of mental fluidity. We often joke about senior moments, but having them prematurely is no laughing matter. Your brain is an energy-hungry organ consuming about 20% of your total calories. When you experience frequent brain fog, difficulty focusing, or a noticeable decline in processing speed, it often indicates that your brain is suffering from inflammaging, a combination of chronic inflammation and aging. This is frequently linked to insulin resistance in the brain, sometimes referred to by type 3 diabetes. If your brain cells cannot effectively use glucose for fuel, they begin to wither and lose their synaptic connections. This leads to a loss of brain volume. When you age too fast, the protective coating on your nerves, known as myelin, begins too thin, slowing down the electrical signals that allow you to think and react. If you feel like your brain is lagging like an old computer, it's a sign that your neural architecture is under attack by metabolic waste products that your body is no longer clearing out during sleep. The fourth sign that your body is moving through time faster than it should is the quality and architecture of your sleep. Specifically, the inability to stay asleep or feeling exhausted despite spending 8 hours in bed. This is a profound marker of biological aging because sleep is the only time your body truly repairs itself. As we age prematurely, our circadian rhythms, the internal biological clocks, governed by the suprachiasmatic nucleus in the brain, start to desynchronize. If you find yourself waking up at 3 a.m. with a racing mind, or if you hit a wall of fatigue every afternoon at 2 p.m., your hormonal feedback loops are failing. This often points to a dysregulation of cortisol, your primary stress hormone. When you age too fast, your body loses its ability to suppress cortisol at night, which prevents you from entering deep, slow-wave sleep. This is the stage where the glymphatic system, the brain's waste removal service, flushes out beta-amyloid plaques. If you aren't getting that deep sleep, those plaques build up, accelerating brain aging every single night. It's a vicious cycle. Poor sleep accelerates aging, and accelerated aging ruins your sleep. If your sleep hygiene is perfect, but you still feel like a zombie, your cellular clock is ticking too loudly. Moving to the fifth sign, we have to talk about something many people notice, but few take seriously: the loss of bone density and the shrinking of your physical stature. Have you actually measured your height recently? If you have lost even half an inch, it's not just part of getting older, it's a sign that your skeletal system is diminished. Your bones are living tissues that are constantly being broken down and rebuilt. When you age too fast, the cells that build bone, called osteoblasts, can't keep up with the cells that break it down. This is often driven by a chronic state of acidity in the body or a severe deficiency in vitamin K2 and D3, which are responsible for directing calcium into your bones instead of your arteries. If your bones are thinning, your arteries are likely stiffening. This calcification is a hallmark of rapid biological aging. Furthermore, the discs between your vertebrae are composed mostly of water and collagen. When your body is aging at an accelerated rate, these discs dehydrate and compress, leading to that loss of height and a rounded posture. A slumped look isn't just about bad habits. It's about a structural failure of your collagen matrix. The sixth sign is a change in your physical appearance that goes beyond skin deep: the loss of fat in your face while gaining it around your midsection. This is known as lipodystrophy, or the redistribution of body fat, and it's a major indicator of hormonal stability. When you are biologically young, fat is distributed evenly under the skin, giving your face a plump, youthful volume. As rapid aging sets in, that subcutaneous fat disappears, leaving your eyes looking sunken and your cheeks hollow. However, that fat doesn't just vanish, it migrates. It moves deep into your abdominal cavity, surrounding your liver, heart, and kidneys. This visceral fat is metabolically active in the worst way possible. It's inflammatory cytokines that further speed up the aging process. If you notice your belt getting tighter while your face looks thinner and more tired, your body is struggling with metabolic flexibility. It means your mitochondria are no longer efficient at burning fat for fuel, and your insulin sensitivity is plummeting. This shift is a precursor to systemic inflammation, which acts like gasoline on the fire of cellular decay. The seventh sign is one of the most visible yet ignored: the health of your eyes and your near vision. We've been told that needing reading glasses at 40 is just a rite of passage. But from a biological standpoint, the hardening of the lens in the eye, known as is a direct result of oxidative damage and the cross-linking of proteins. If your vision is declining rapidly, it's a sign that your body's internal antioxidant systems, like glutathione, are depleted. The eye is highly sensitive to glucose spikes. If your blood sugar is constantly fluctuating, it causes the lens to swell and contract, eventually leading to permanent damage. But it's not just about the lens. If you notice a white or bluish ring forming around the edge of your cornea, condition called arcacine is a sign of high cholesterol deposits and a potential indicator of cardiovascular aging. Your eyes are literally the windows to your vascular health. If the tiny capillaries in your eyes are struggling, the vessels in your heart and brain are likely under the same pressure. The 11th hidden driver of rapid aging is a process called glycation, which creates what scientists call advanced glycation end products, or appropriately, think of glycation as the caramelization of your internal organs. When you have chronically high blood sugar, even if you aren't diabetic, those sugar molecules float around in your bloodstream and latch onto proteins and lipids. This bond creates a sticky, brown-like sludge that coats your tissues. This is exactly what happens when you sear a steak. The proteins brown and stiffen. Inside your body, this happens to your collagen. Collagen is the glue that holds your skin, arteries, and joints together. When it becomes glycated, it loses its elasticity and becomes brittle. This is why people who consume high amounts of processed carbohydrates and fructose develop deep, leathery wrinkles and stiff joints much earlier in life. But the damage isn't just cosmetic. These AGEs bind to receptors called RAGEs receptors for advanced glycation end products, which triggers a massive inflammatory cascade. It's like a permanent on switch for your immune system, leading to chronic low-grade inflammation that dissolves your tissues from the inside out. If you feel stiff in the morning, you aren't just tired. Your proteins are literally being cross-linked by sugar. We cannot talk about aging without addressing the battery failure of your body. Mitochondrial dysfunction. Every cell in your body contains hundreds, sometimes thousands, of mitochondria. These are the ancient organelles that take the oxygen you breathe and the food you eat and turn them into adenosine triphosphate, or ATP, the universal currency of energy. When you are young, your mitochondria are robust and efficient. They produce energy with very little smoke or waste. But as you age too fast, these powerhouses become leaky. Instead of producing clean ATP, they start spitting out high amounts of reactive oxygen species, or ROS. These are highly unstable molecules that bounce around your cells, damaging your DNA and puncturing your cell membranes. It's like having a car engine that is constantly backfiring and leaking oil onto the pavement. Eventually, the cell becomes so damaged by its own energy production that it shuts down. This mitochondrial decay is why you feel a loss of vitality. It's not a lack of willpower or motivation. It's a literal lack of cellular voltage. When your voltage drops, your body can no longer perform the basic housekeeping tasks required to keep you young. This brings us to the concept of autophagy, the body's internal recycling program. The word literally means self-feeding, and it is one of the most important longevity mechanisms we possess. When your body is in a state of autophagy, it identifies broken proteins, damaged mitochondria, and even dormant viruses, and it breaks them down into their component parts to build new, healthy structures. It is the ultimate anti-aging deep clean. However, in our modern world, we almost never enter autophagy. Why? Because we are constantly eating. Every time you consume a snack or a sugary drink, you spike an anabolic hormone called mTOR, mammalian target of rapamycin. While mTOR is necessary for growth, having it on 24/7 is like trying to renovate a house while the construction crew is still throwing trash on the floor. To stay young, you must balance growth with repair. If you are constantly growing through overnutrition, you are never cleaning. This failure to recycle cellular waste leads to the accumulation of lipofuscin, an aging pigment that clogs up your cells and causes those brown liver spots on your skin. If you have spots on your hands, you likely have spots on your internal organs as well. Furthermore, we must look at the role of NAD+, a coenzyme found in all living cells that is absolutely essential for life. NAD+ is the fuel for enzymes which are known as the longevity genes. Sirtuins are responsible for repairing DNA and telling your cells which genes to turn on and which to turn off. As we age rapidly, our levels of NAD plummet. By the time you are 50, you likely have half the NAD+ you had at 20. When NAD+ levels are low, your sirtuins go on strike. They stop repairing your DNA, and your genetic code begins to accumulate typos. Think of your DNA as a giant library of instruction manuals. Rapid aging is like having a group of vandals go into that library and start ripping out pages or smudging the ink. Eventually, the cell doesn't know how to function anymore, and it starts making mistakes. This is how chronic diseases and tumors begin to form. Boosting your NAD+ levels is like hiring a team of librarians to go back into that library and fix the books. It's about restoring the information that keeps your body organized and resilient. The eighth sign that your body is racing toward old age is a noticeable change in your sense of balance and proprioception. Have you found yourself tripping over flat surfaces or feeling slightly dizzy when you stand up too quickly? This isn't just clumsiness. It's a breakdown in the communication between your brain, your inner ear, and your muscular system. As we age prematurely, the vestibular system in the inner ear, which governs balance, begins to lose its sensory hair cells. Simultaneously, the cerebellum, the part of your brain responsible for motor control, shrinks at an accelerated rate if it's under constant oxidative stress. Poor balance is one of the strongest predictors of future frailty. If your nervous system can't coordinate a simple movement, it's a sign that your neurons are losing their insulation, or myelin sheath. This degradation is often accelerated by chronic B12 deficiencies or high levels of homocysteine amino acid that, when elevated, acts like an internal toxin, rusting your vascular and neural pathways. If you can't stand on one leg for at least 20 seconds with your eyes open, your biological age might be decades ahead of your actual age. The ninth sign is a subtle but deadly shift in your heart rate recovery time. Everyone knows that a high resting heart rate is bad, but how fast your heart returns to normal after physical exertion is a much more accurate stress test for your biological age. If you climb a flight of stairs or run for a bus and your heart is still pounding 5 minutes later, your autonomic nervous system is losing its elasticity. This is a sign of low heart rate variability, or resilient body can toggle between the fight or flight sympathetic system and the rest and digest parasympathetic system with ease. Rapid aging locks you into a permanent state of sympathetic dominance. This means your body is constantly bathed in adrenaline and cortisol, which eventually causes the heart muscle to stiffen, a process called myocardial fibrosis. When the heart stiffens, it can't fill with blood properly, leading to a massive drop in VO2 max, which is perhaps the single most important metric for predicting how many years of life you have left. If your engine takes too long to cool down, the internal heat is cooking your tip. The 10th and perhaps most visually striking sign of accelerated aging is the loss of hair on your legs and the thinning of your eyebrows, especially the outer thirds. While we often focus on the hair on our heads, the hair on our extremities is a primary indicator of peripheral circulation and endocrine health. If the skin on your shins is becoming shiny and hairless, it's often a sign of peripheral artery disease or PAD. This means your smallest blood vessels are closing up, starving your tissues of oxygen. Furthermore, the thinning of the outer eyebrows is a classic red flag for a struggling thyroid. Your thyroid is the master regulator of your metabolism. If it's slowing down, every single chemical reaction in your body from DNA repair to protein synthesis slows down with it. This creates a state of hypometabolism where you aren't just gaining weight. You are physically decaying because your cells don't have the energy to maintain themselves. Now that we have identified these 10 warning signs, we must go deeper into the why. Why do some people seem to be super agers while others crumble in their 40s? To understand this, we have to look at the hallmarks of aging, starting with cellular. Imagine your cells are like little office workers. Normally, they do their jobs. And when they get too old or damaged, they retire and are cleared out by the immune system through a process called But when you age too fast, these cells don't die. Instead, they become zombie cells. They stop working, but they stay in the tissue, secreting toxic inflammatory chemicals that infect the healthy cells around them. This is called the senescence-associated secretory phenotype, or SASP. These zombie cells are like a single rotten apple in a barrel. If you don't remove them, they will rot everything around them. This is the root cause of the stiffness and aches you feel. It's not just old age. It's a buildup of cellular trash that your body has lost the ability to incinerate. Hand in hand with zombie cells is the shortening of your telomeres. Think of telomeres like the plastic tips at the end of shoelaces. They protect your DNA strands from fraying during cell division. Every time your cells divide, the telomeres get a little bit shorter. Eventually, they get so short that the cell can no longer divide, and it either dies or becomes one of those zombie cells we just discussed. Accelerated aging is essentially a telomere heist. High stress, processed sugars, lack of sleep, and environmental toxins are literally clipping your telomeres every single day. When your telomeres are gone, your biological limit has been reached. But here is the breakthrough. Science has shown that telomere shortening isn't a one-way street. Through specific lifestyle interventions and nutritional strategies, we can actually activate an enzyme called telomerase, which can help maintain or even lengthen these protective caps. We aren't just talking about living longer, we are talking about biological reversal. The 12th and perhaps most insidious driver of rapid aging is the total collapse of your stress resilience, governed by the HPA axis, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. In a state of biological youth, your body treats stress like a sharp, short-lived spike. You face a challenge, your cortisol rises to meet it, and then it drops back to baseline, allowing for repair. But in a body that is aging too fast, this axis becomes stuck. You are living in a state of perpetual microstress. Every notification on your phone, every looming deadline, and even the hidden toxins in your environment keep your cortisol levels chronically elevated. Why does this age you? Because cortisol is catabolic. It literally breaks down your tissues to provide quick energy for a fight that never happens. High cortisol melts away your muscle tissue, thins your skin, and, most dangerously, shrinks the hippocampus, the brain's center for memory and emotional regulation. If you feel like your fuse is short and you can no longer handle minor inconveniences, your brain is physically losing its structural integrity due to this hormonal corrosive. You aren't just stressed, you are being chemically dissolved from the inside out. Connected deeply to this stress response is the health of your second brain, the gut microbiome. Scientists now use the term gastrointestinal aging to describe the shift in bacterial diversity that happens as we lose our youth. Your gut is home to trillions of bacteria that produce about 90% of your serotonin and a vast majority of your immune cells. When you age prematurely, the tight junctions in your intestinal lining begin to fray, leading to a condition known as leaky gut or intestinal permeability. When this happens, lipopoisaccharijas, toxic components of certain bacteria, leak into your bloodstream. Your immune system sees these as foreign invaders and goes into a state of high alert. This is the primary source of metabolic endotoxemia, a silent internal fire that causes your arteries to stiffen and your brain to fog up. If your digestion is inconsistent, if you suffer from chronic bloating or food sensitivities that you didn't have 5 years ago, it is a definitive sign that your internal ecosystem is rusting. A diverse microbiome acts like a shield against aging. Without it, you are exposed to every environmental insult. We must also address the epigenetic clock. While your DNA sequence is fixed, the tags on top of your DNA, called DNA methylation, are incredibly fluid. Think of your DNA as a piano. The sequence is the keys, but the epigenome is the person playing the piano. Rapid aging is like a pianist who only plays the dark, dissonant notes. Bad habits, poor sleep, and environmental pollutants add methyl groups to your DNA that effectively silence your longevity genes. This is why two identical twins can look 20 years apart by the time they reach age 50. One has played a symphony of health, while the other has played a dirge of decay. The terrifying reality is that these epigenetic changes can become locked in, making it harder and harder to pivot back to health the longer you wait. However, the revolutionary field of epigenetic reprogramming suggests that by changing your cellular environment, you can actually clean those piano keys. You can flip the switches back to a more youthful state. But it requires a radical shift in how you feed, move, and rest your body. Lastly, we have to look at vascular stiffness. Your arteries should be as flexible as a rubber band. When they are young, they expand and contract with every heartbeat, buffering the pressure and protecting your delicate organs. But through the processes of glycation and calcification we mentioned earlier, those rubber bands turn into glass pipes. This is why blood pressure tends to rise with age. A heart has to pump harder to push blood through rigid tubes. This increased pressure damages the endothelium, the single-cell thick lining of your blood vessels. Once the endothelium is damaged, it can no longer produce nitric oxide, the miracle molecule that keeps your vessels open and your blood flowing smoothly. If you experience cold hands and feet, or if your skin takes a long time to regain its color after you press on it, your microvasculature is failing. This lack of blood flow is why your organs begin to shrink and lose function. Without blood, there is no life. Without flexible vessels, there is no youth. Now that we have diagnosed the biological mechanisms of decay, we must shift our focus from the why to the how. How do we stop this runaway train? The first and most powerful lever you can pull is the activation of your longevity genes through a process called hormesis. Is the biological phenomenon where a brief, controlled stressor triggers a massive repair response that leaves the body stronger than it was before. Think of it like a vaccine for aging. One of the most effective ways to trigger this is through thermal stress. When you expose your body to high heat, such as a sauna, your cells produce heat shock proteins. These proteins act like molecular chaperones, finding folded or damaged proteins, the kind that lead to Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, and refolding them into their correct functional shapes. On the flip side, cold exposure, like a cold plunge or a deliberate cold shower, triggers the production of cold shock proteins like RNA-binding protein RBM3. This protein has been shown in clinical studies to protect synapses in the brain from shrinking. By alternating between heat and cold, you are essentially flushing your cellular system, forcing your mitochondria to become more efficient and your vascular system to remain elastic. If you aren't challenging your body with temperature, you are letting it stagnate in a lukewarm state of decay. The second pillar of reversal is nutrient sensing and the strategic use of We talked about zombie cells. Those senescent cells that refuse to die. Science has discovered a class of compounds called senolytics that specifically target and eliminate these cells without harming healthy ones. Some of the most potent senolytics are found in nature. Quercetin found in red onions and capers, and physiton found in strawberries, have shown remarkable ability in animal studies to clear out cellular trash and extend health span, the number of years you live in peak physical condition. But you cannot simply supplement your way out of a poor diet. You must address the mTOR and autophagy balance we discussed. This is where intermittent fasting or time-restricted feeding becomes non-negotiable. By narrowing your eating window to 8 or 6 hours a day, you allow your insulin levels to drop low enough for your body to flip the switch from growth mode to repair mode. During those fasting hours, your body begins to eat its own damaged components. It is a free biological facelift that happens from the inside out. If you are eating from the moment you wake up until the moment you go to sleep, you are essentially keeping your cellular trash cans overflowing. Third, we must look at the master antioxidant, glutathione. Most people take vitamin C or vitamin E, but glutathione is the one your body actually relies on to protect your DNA. However, oral glutathione is notoriously difficult for the body to absorb. To boost it naturally, you need the building blocks: Uncetylcysteine, NAC, glycine, and glutamine. These 3 amino acids allow your liver to manufacture its own defense system. Furthermore, we must discuss the importance of magnesium. Magnesium is a cofactor for over 300 enzymatic reactions in the body, including the repair of DNA. If you are magnesium deficient, which over 70% of the population is, your body cannot fix the typos in your genetic code. This leads to genomic instability, a core hallmark of aging. Without enough magnesium, your ATP production stalls, your muscles stay tight, and your nervous system stays fried. It is the spark plug of the human engine. If you feel wired but tired, your spark plugs are likely fouled and your biological engine is missing. Fourth, we have to address vascular elasticity through the restoration of nitric oxide. As we age, our ability to produce this gas drops by up to 50%. You can jumpstart this process by consuming high nitrate foods like beets and arugula, but more importantly, by breathing through your nose. Nasal breathing increases nitric oxide production by 6-fold compared to mouth breathing. This simple shift in how you breathe can lower your blood pressure, improve oxygen delivery to your brain, and reduce the oxidative stress on your heart. It is the most overlooked anti-aging tool in existence. Additionally, ensuring you have adequate vitamin K2 is vital. While vitamin D3 helps you absorb calcium, vitamin K2 is the traffic cop that tells that calcium where to go. Without K2, the calcium you eat ends up in your heart valves and arteries, causing stiffness instead of your bones. This calcium paradox is a primary reason why people look hunched over and suffer from cardiovascular events as they age. The 13th pillar of biological youth is the maintenance of skeletal muscle, but not for the reasons you might think. For decades, we viewed muscles simply as a tool for movement or a symbol of vanity. However, modern science now classifies muscle as a massive endocrine organ gland that secretes life-extending chemicals called mu. When you contract your muscles against resistance, they release these signaling molecules into your bloodstream. Myokines like irisin and cathepsin travel directly to your brain, where they stimulate the production of BDNF, or brain-derived neurotrophic factor. BDNF is often called miracle grow for the brain because it repairs damaged neurons and encourages the growth of new ones. If you are losing muscle mass, a process called sarcopenia, are also losing your brain's primary defense mechanism against cognitive decline. This is why physical weakness is so highly correlated with dementia. Muscle is your metabolic sink. It is where you store and burn glucose. Without adequate muscle mass, your blood sugar levels stay elevated, leading back to the glycation and internal caramelization we discussed earlier. Muscle is literally the armor that protects your internal organs from the ravages of time. Furthermore, we must address the hormonal cliff in both men and women. The decline of sex hormones, testosterone, estrogen, and progesterone acts as a massive accelerator for the aging process. But here is the secret. It is not just about the amount of hormones you have, but the sensitivity of your receptors. When you are chronically inflamed, your hormone receptors become deaf. You could have plenty of testosterone or estrogen in your blood, but if your cells can't hear the signal, you will experience the symptoms of aging, loss of bone density, muscle wasting, and mood disorders. To keep your receptors sharp, you must manage your insulin levels. High insulin is the primary hormone disruptor. In women, it can lead to PCOS and accelerated facial aging. In men, it triggers aromatization, where testosterone is converted into estrogen in the belly fat. This hormonal imbalance creates a biological feedback loop that makes it harder to lose weight and easier to age. Managing your endocrine health is about creating a clean cellular environment where your body's natural signals can be heard loud and clear. This brings us to the most critical anti-aging ritual in the human experience: deep sleep optimization. We mentioned sleep earlier, but we need to talk about the lymphatic system. Your brain does not have a traditional lymphatic system like the rest of your body. Instead, it has a specialized waste clearance pathway that only opens when you are in deep, non-REM sleep. During this phase, your brain cells literally shrink by up to 60%, allowing cerebrospinal fluid to wash through the gaps and flush out metabolic toxins like tau proteins and beta. If you are cutting your sleep short, or if your sleep is fragmented by alcohol, blue light, or late-night eating, you are essentially leaving the trash in your brain for another day. Over years, this trash accumulates, leading to the brain fog and cognitive lag that many people mistake for normal aging. Real anti-aging doesn't happen in a gym or a clinic. It happens in the dark, during those hours of deep, restorative silence. To optimize this, you must understand sleep pressure and adenosine. Throughout the day, a chemical called adenosine builds up in your brain. The more you have, the sleepier you feel. Caffeine works by parking in the adenosine receptors, tricking your brain into thinking you aren't tired. But the adenosine is still there, building up like water behind a dam. When the caffeine wears off, the dam breaks, leading to the caffeine crash. If you use caffeine to mask exhaustion, you are preventing your body from entering the natural repair cycles it desperately needs. To reverse aging, you must respect the adenosine-cortisol rhythm. You need a spike of cortisol in the morning to set the clock and a rise in melatonin in the evening to start the repair of your light chain. Exposure is wrong, meaning you don't see sunlight in the morning, but you see bright LED lights at 10 p.m. Your body is perpetually jet-lagged, and a jet-lagged body is a body that decays at twice the normal speed. Finally, we must consider the role of biological information transfer through exosomes are tiny shuttles that cells use to send messages to each other. When you are healthy and young, your cells send rejuvenation messages. When you are aging fast, they send panic messages. This is how aging spreads through the body. By improving your cellular health through the strategies we've discussed, movement and sleep, you are essentially changing the mail your cells are sending. You are shifting the conversation from "we are under attack" to "we are rebuilding." This systemic shift is what allows people to experience biological reversals, where their skin clears up, their energy returns, and their biomarkers improve in a matter of months. You are not a static machine. You are a dynamic, self-correcting flow of information. The 14th hidden factor in the race against time is the invisible impact of photobiomylation, or more accurately, the lack of it. We live in a world of junk light. Just as junk food ruins your gut, junk light ruins your mitochondria. Most of us spend 90% of our time under artificial LED lighting and staring at blue light emitting screens. This specific frequency of light is highly energetic and, when consumed in excess, creates massive amounts of oxidative stress in the retina and the skin. But more importantly, it lacks the near-infrared spectrum that we naturally receive from the sun. Near-infrared light is capable of penetrating your skin and reaching your mitochondria, where it stimulates the production of melatonin, not just the melatonin in your brain that helps you sleep, but subcellular melatonin. This is the most powerful antioxidant your body possesses, and its job is to mop up the free radicals produced during energy production. If you are never in natural sunlight, your mitochondria are essentially working without a cooling system. They are overheating and burning out. This is why indoor lifestyles are so closely linked to rapid aging and chronic fatigue. Reversing this requires a return to ancestral light patterns, seeking the red and infrared light of the sunrise and sunset to prime and repair your cells. Moving to the 15th sign, we must look at genomic instability caused by environmental xenophagy. We are currently living in a chemical soup of endocrine disruptors, BPA, in plastics, phthalates in fragrances, and forever chemicals, or PFAs, in our water and nonstick cooking. These chemicals are molecular mimics. They are shaped just like your natural hormones, like estrogen or thyroid hormone, and they clog your hormonal receptors. When these fake hormones dock into your cells, they send garbled, chaotic signals that lead to epigenetic noise. This noise is a primary driver of aging because it confuses the cell. The cell no longer knows whether it should be repairing itself or dividing. This confusion leads to the accumulation of senescent markers and DNA. To combat this, your body requires a robust detoxification system, specifically the phase 2 conjugation in the liver. This process is fueled by cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, kale, and Brussels sprouts, which contain a compound called sulforaphane. Is perhaps the most potent natural inducer of the NRF2 pathway, your body's master survival switch. When NRF2 is activated, it triggers the production of hundreds of antioxidant enzymes that vacuum those chemical toxins out of your We also have to discuss the micronutrient gap that characterizes the modern diet. You can eat 3,000 calories a day and still be biologically starving. Our soil has been depleted of essential minerals like selenium, zinc, and copper over the last century. Zinc is a critical component of zinc fingers, which are small protein structures that facilitate DNA repair and gene expression. If you don't have enough zinc, your DNA repair machinery literally falls apart. Selenium is the key cofactor for glutathione peroxidase, the enzyme that protects your cell membranes from lipid peroxidation, the process that turns the fats in your cell walls rancid. If your cell walls are rancid, they cannot transport nutrients in or waste out. This leads to cellular constipation, where the cell becomes bloated with metabolic trash. This is why certain people look puffy or inflamed even if they aren't overweight. Their cells are physically unable to breathe. Furthermore, we must explore the sirtuinin AD plus nexus in greater detail. We've established that sirtuins are the guardians of the genome, but they are also responsible for mitochondrial biogenesis, the creation of new mitochondria. As you age rapidly, your body stops making new powerhouses and tries to limp along with old, broken ones. To force your body to build new mitochondria, you need to combine NAD precursors like NMN or NR found in foods like broccoli and avocados with CircWayne activating compounds or S. The most famous of these is resveratrol, found in the skin of red grapes. But even more powerful is pteristilbin, found in blueberries. These compounds act like a whip for the sirtuin enzymes, forcing them to get to work. When you combine fasting, which raises NAD with these specific phytonutrients, you are sending a loud, clear signal to your body. Times are tough. We need to be efficient. We need to be young. This is the essence of biological resilience. Lastly, we must address the psychological age and its impact on the telomere length. The landmark research of Dr. Elizabeth Blackburn showed that chronic cynical hostility and pessimistic thought patterns actually shorten telomeres. Your cells are essentially listening to your thoughts through the medium of neuropeptides. When you are in a state of constant perceived threat, your body deprioritizes long-term maintenance in favor of short-term survival. You are effectively spending your future health to survive a present that isn't actually dangerous. This is why mindfulness and gratitude aren't just woo-woo concepts. They are biological imperatives. They lower the allostatic load, the total wear and tear on the body. By shifting your nervous system into a safety state, you give your cells the permission they need to invest in repair, longevity, and DNA integrity. The 16th sign of rapid aging is the total loss of metabolic flexibility. In a youthful state, your body is like a hybrid engine. It can burn glucose when you eat and switch seamlessly to burning stored body fat when you don't. But as you age prematurely, you lose the ability to switch gears. You become locked into glucose-burning mode. This is why you might feel shaky, irritable, or hangry if you miss a meal by just an hour. This metabolic stiffness is a sign that your mitochondria have lost the ability to oxidize fatty acids. When this happens, your body starts to store fat in places it doesn't belong, like your liver, your muscles, and even your heart. This ectopic fat is a primary driver of systemic aging. Reclaiming your metabolic flexibility is one of the most powerful things you can do to reverse your biological age. It requires metabolic training, which includes periods of low carbohydrate eating and high-intensity interval training height. These stressors force your cells to remember how to burn fat, lowering your baseline insulin and clearing out the metabolic sludge that is keeping you old. Now, before we move into the final 30-day longevity roadmap to reverse these signs, I want to take a moment to invite you to join our community. If you are finding this deep dive into the science of longevity valuable, please hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. Our mission is to empower you with the most advanced, science-backed health information so you can take control of your biological destiny. Also, if you've noticed any of these 10 signs in your own life, leave a comment below and let us know which ones. Sharing your experience not only helps others in the community feel less alone, but also helps us understand which topics you want us to cover in more detail. And if you think this information could save a friend or family member from the aging trap, please share this video with them. Don't forget to hit the like button. It tells the algorithm that this kind of long-form, educational content matters, helping us reach more people who are searching for real health solutions. The 17th and perhaps most critical marker for longevity is endothelial function and the health of your glycocalyx. The glycocalyx is a microscopic gel-like layer that lines every single blood vessel in your body. It is the non-stick coating of your cardiovascular system. When you age too fast due to high sugar, smoking, or chronic stress, this delicate coating is stripped away. Without the glycocalyx, cholesterol and inflammatory cells can easily stick to your vessel walls, forming the plaques that lead to heart attacks and strokes. To protect this inner skin, you must prioritize vascular biohacking. This involves the use of specific nutrients like seaweed extracts, omega-3 fatty acids, and potassium-rich foods that maintain the electrical charge of your vessel walls. A healthy vascular system ensures that every anti-aging nutrient you take and every breath of oxygen you breathe actually reaches the cells that need them. You are only as old as your arteries. Keep them slick, and you stay young. As we reach the conclusion of this comprehensive guide, we must look at the social and purposeful aspects of aging. The Blue Zone's research has consistently shown that people who live to 100 don't just eat well. They have a plan de vida, or a reason to wake up. Chronic loneliness and lack of purpose are as damaging to your health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. When you lack social connection, your brain remains in a state of hypervigilance, which keeps your inflammatory markers like IL-6 and C-reactive protein chronically high. To reverse aging, you must invest in your social capital. Build a tribe, engage in deep conversations, and find a mission that is larger than yourself. This creates a neurochemical cocktail of oxytocin and dopamine that acts as a buffer against the oxidative stress of daily life. In summary, aging too fast is not a life sentence. It is a collection of biological signals that your environment and your biology are out of sync. By identifying the signs from loss of grip strength and skin resilience to cognitive fog and vascular stiffness, you now have the map. By applying the biohacks we've discussed, fasting, thermal stress, targeted supplementation, and light optimization, you are no longer a victim of your genetics. You are the architect of your epic. Remember, the best time to start was 10 years ago, but the second best time is right now. Every meal you eat, every hour you sleep, and every movement you make is a vote for either rapid decay or radical longevity. Choose wisely.